Good morning, boys and girls on the internet. Today is Thursday, December 20th, 2018. It's be vlog number 353. Well, I was doing some catching up on editing of my vlogs. I realized I gotta play some more God of War. I've actually ran out of footage. If you can believe that. I mean, yeah, a lot of the footage I've been putting on, it just kind of like me just running around the world, just doing random things. Yeah, I know like some of the footages of the last couple of days have been, I have been accomplishing things in the game. I mean, I'm not going towards the end goal game, but I'm trying to 100% it. So I'm just trying to do everything in the game that needs to be done. I'm not going to try to like get all the trophies for it, because I think there's probably some trophies for like, you know, maxing out some armors or something. I haven't seen everything, but I'm gonna get just like the end game stuff. Like there's a couple of tasks in the game that it wants you to do, so there's like a few that I need to do before I actually tackle the end game. So I'm gonna try to do that tonight, even though I know I have a shitload of other things to do. Editing, more picture editing to do, more video editing to do, and I gotta wrap some presents. Fun times. So, speaking of presents, 5 more days till Christmas. It also means it's also very close to the end of the year. Made it to the end of this year, 2019, next year. It's scary. They do say that, like, as you get older, time flies by faster, and the years just go by faster, and it certainly seems that way. I was looking for some old images on my computer the other day. My brother had asked for a picture that he thought I had, and I was like trying to find it. But in searching for that picture, when I found some photos we had from the first couple of times we went to E3. Oh man, that was a time. E3. This was way back in like 2004 or 2005. Well, this is a good 15 years ago. Yeah, 15 fucking years. Well, it's gonna be 15 years. My first E3 was, I think, the 2003 one, so yeah. But I had some 2004 and 2005 as well. Man, that shit was a long ass time ago. But it's such a different time. Like, you look back at E3 from back then. Now, I haven't been back to E3 since then, so I'm sure times have changed. But just for the fact that I look at it, I'm like, huh, I took all these pictures with a shitty ass like Olympus camera, because that was all I had back then. That was point and shoot, and shit was funny. You know, you get to see, of course, like the quality of the camera compared to like the cameras they have nowadays. But even back then, you can see I was still trying to. I had that little spark of, you know, that photography bug. And I did what I can with that little Olympus camera. I took a shitload of pictures there. A lot of pictures of booth babes, that's for sure. Because back then, if you had a video game booth, you had a hot chick standing there to promote it. You know, that hot chick didn't know anything about your game. All it was just, you know, a point of attraction for people to come up and take pictures with the hot chick. Like, really, I mean, if you think about it that way, yeah, you're getting people attracted into your booth to, like, because the hot chick is there. But are they really knowing anything more about your game because of it? You'd think you'd want the game to attract people to your booth. guess that was the mentality behind it, is to just get people in the door. It goes to show, sex sells, and that was what they always tried to do for the longest time. This person's really slow. But it's funny, you could tell like some of the booths I hired back then, especially the ones for Tecmo, that they were advertising like Dead or Alive series. The Dead or Alive series, if you know it, you know it's known for its big-breasted hot chicks in the game. So of course they got hot chicks for their booths. You know, they usually had a lot of silicone. They paid for those, you know, their upstairs billboards, I say, because that's all it was. They were advertising billboards for themselves. That's not nice to say. I shouldn't say that. But they were eye candy for the booth, and there was one picture I got of one of their chicks at one of the conventions. That it actually is a really well done picture for a shitty ass Olympus camera. Like, it was well composed. The lighting was decent for being inside of a convention hall. And that was like one of my favorite pictures from that convention that year, I think. But you could tell though, I want to say, of course, since E3 was take place in LA, you probably had no shortage of hot chicks to hire just for like the 3 days that E3 was for. I had no idea how much I got paid, but I'm sure it was decent. You know, $100 a day, maybe. I don't know, maybe more than that. I have no idea. Maybe a lot more than that. Maybe they got $500 a day or $1,000 a day. Who knows? I mean, they're just modeling all day, and but some of them I'm like, wow, I bet you were a stripper in your day/night job. Because you just looked at him, oh, there's a dog down on the floor. Sorry. Yeah, you could just see. I was like, wow, you're. It's like I could tell that you probably like wanted to go into modeling, but you could just tell who the stripper is. At least I could, maybe, or maybe I was just thinking that there were strippers at the time. I wouldn't doubt, with all the booth babes they've had at E3, and there were lots. There was a shit ton. That they were. Some of them were at least strippers. A man can dream, can't he? Man, E3 back in those days, those were good times. Especially you be there with friends and stuff. You know, that's what I enjoyed. Those were the good years of my youth. Like my youth. I say that like an old person. Yeah, but I have very good memories from that time. It was a great adventure. We had a lot of shenanigans. And it was just awesome times. One of the years we got to see before the PS4 came out. And I remember taking pictures of the little mock-up PS4s they had there. And their original... Sorry, not PS4. Wow, what am I thinking? PS3. The PS3 before that came out. Because this was 2004, 2005-ish. Wow. But back then, if you all remember, I'll try to find a picture if I remember correctly. Remember to put it in here. Remember the boomerang controller that they were gonna have with it? They were trying to like do something different than their normal DualShock controller, and that was a laughing stock of the fucking convention, man. But to me, when I looked at that controller, I'm like, it looks comfortable because it looked, like it would naturally fit your hand, but it just looked dopey. And I'm sure like they probably did like just put that on there for either to make it look futuristic, or maybe they really did test it and have a couple of prototypes for that controller design, and test it on people's hands and see how well it did. But even if it did well in people's hands, the looks alone was enough for people to just laugh at it. Like, no, we ain't buying that shit. And the regular DualShock for the PS1 and the PS2, those are great controllers. So like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So they didn't. So they wisely just remade the DualShock again. But of course, this time it was just called a 6-axis because they wanted to incorporate motion control into the controller. And at the time, they couldn't figure out how to have motion and rumble at the same time. Well, that was their excuse. So the first PS3 controllers didn't have rumble. We can't have motion. The motion of it will affect the rumble, or the rumble will affect the motion. Now, at the time, there was a company called Immersion, and they had a rumble technology that they had patented. And apparently, they looked at Sony. They're like, you know what? The rumble in your controllers violate our patent, so we're going to sue your ass. So that's why the original 6-axis for the PS3 did not have rumble. That's trivia for you folks. Microsoft settled with them, and because they wanted to make sure that their controller had rumble, so they settled, and they go, all right, here you go, here's some money, let us have our rumble. That's what they did. It was like 2 years later as Sony finally caved and put rumble back in their controllers and settled with Immersion. Fun times. Yeah, some of those old games that we saw back then. There used to be some old video game themed TV shows on TV back then. One of them was called Electric Playground, and the host of that show was one of them was Tommy Tallarico. I remember his name, and the other guy, I forget his name. He's a cool dude. Both those guys they were cool hosts of the show. Tommy Tallarico, and the other guy was I don't remember. But in any case, at the time as well, they were showing off the Xbox 360. And when we were at E3, we met both Tommy Tallarico and the other guy. And say, hey, what's up? We love your show, blah blah blah. And that was a good time. We took pictures with them. And then later on in the show, we were standing in front of. They had a demo for Need for Speed, playing on the Xbox 360. And I remember looking at it, and I was all, this is supposed to be a next-gen system. Granted, this is going from the original Xbox and the PS2 to a new generation. And it's supposed to blow you away. And I looked at it and I was all, wow, that's some shitty-ass texture. It doesn't look that much better. I mean, it does look a little bit better. It, looks higher resolution, looks, there's obviously improvements, but there was, really shit. But I remember the other guy from the Electric Playground show, not Tommy, but the other guy, the host, he was also at the booth. Playing, he went to go play the Need for Speed, and he picked up the Xbox controller, and he's all like, he would look at the controller, and you could tell that he wasn't too much of a fan of it. He's like, okay, and I forget exactly what he said, but he did have some words of complaint. He's all like, yeah, I don't really see blah blah blah, like, what the big deal is, or I don't really see that big of improvement, in the graphics. Of course, these are all early games. They were all demos, so you can't really fault it for back then. And all early games on new consoles, they don't live up to the full potential at the end of the console's life cycle, and that's to be expected. Which is why I don't understand till this day people, when the Xbox One and the PS4 was about to come out, people were looking at the early games on those systems, and they were all like, "Huh, yep." So we could tell the PS4 and the Xbox One, they've just come out and they're already underpowered. And just by the specs, they think it's underpowered. And they're like, "Look, we have these games that here it is, modern technology. Full HD should be a thing. It should be able to hit full HD by default. But here we have a couple of games coming out that they can't quite hit full 1080p, so they run it at like 900p and like they upscale them." There was a few games that did that back in the day, and they looked at the visuals of these games and I'm like, "Oh, they're not that good. They're not as big of an improvement." I'm like, "But wait, every console cycle goes through this. The first generation of games don't look that good." I mean, and I made the argument back then. I'm like, look at games like The Last of Us on PS3 and compare it to like an early ass PS3 game, like, I don't know, Resistance. Now, Resistance, when that came out for PS3 in the first year it came out, was a decent looking game for that time. But if you compare that to The Last of Us, there's no comparison. It looks leaps and bounds better. It looks like a whole new generation of difference. And so now you could look at games now. Look at God of War, which you're looking at right now because there's footage from God of War, and look at early PS4 footage from some early PS4 games, and there's a huge difference. As developers get more comfortable with working with consoles, they're going to get improvements and they're going to be able to squeeze every last ounce of power out of the systems. You're not going to have like this huge leaps and bounds like improvement day one of a new console cycle. People have to, because not only that, most of the time when these games come out for these new consoles, they've been in development, the games have been in development for 2 years prior. So they're not even making it to the full spec of the system at the beginning because they probably don't. The full spec of the system is probably not optimized yet because it's not done yet for most of the majority of the development of time of the game. But by the time the system comes out and by the time the new games come out for it, they're gonna look dated because they are dated. They started those games years before. That's just my rant, and I don't understand why anybody who has been reviewing and talking about video games for many, many years, like I see a lot of people, have been like on YouTube or even like, and video game websites. They never mention that. They never talk about that kind of thing because they have short memory, I guess. They don't understand the development cycle of games or something. I don't know. And I'm just ranting too long and totally going off subject. Yeah, I'm totally nostalgic for E3, and I wish it was something like that again that me and my friends can do. I know there's like PAX. PAX would be fun to go to. But video game conventions as a whole, they're kind of, I don't know, they just don't have the draw, at least to me, as they're used to. Like E3 back in the day used to be like this glitzy, glamorous thing that if you go to E3, that is the pinnacle. But nowadays, because of the internet and stuff, you don't have to wait for big conventions to have game reveals and console reveals. These companies do it themselves. In fact, I heard that a lot of companies are they're pulling out of E3 next year. They're not even going. So like Nintendo, they haven't like officially gone to E3 in a couple of years. They have a booth presence, but they don't really go to it. So big shows like E3, they're definitely have evolved over the years, and they're way different than how they used to. And we do have other shows now. We have PAX. We have there's a couple others, but E3 is just not what it used to be, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Because we have other ways to consume our gaming addiction and to get new content, new information about new games, and that's fine. Oh well. Now I'm just rambling on for even longer, so I think that's it for today. I will talk to y'all later. Maybe have a good day. I love you.
A few extra to deal with back here.